It is extremely, extremely common for societies to accept self-destructive philosophies. That raises a question, well, how do you know when you have a bad philosophy in your society? Judge philosophies not by their promises, but by what they mean in action. If you think about what an idea means in action, then you can really understand it, then you can be protected against it. But if you just look at the promises, you're just going to get duped over and over and over. You cannot overrate the value of energy in your life. Fossil fuels are about 86% of the energy production in the world. When looking at the whole green energy movement, if we just judge it on the level of promises, it's like, great. I mean, basically the promise is we can give you energy that's cheaper and cleaner. Well, who is opposed to that? So the observation is that despite their promises, they're not willing to outcompete existing technologies. They seek to ban them. If these were so good, then why wouldn't you just sell them on a market like anything else? Now, observation number 2 pertains to what are the sources that they support. And the main ones that Gore supports and that others support are solar and wind. It's good to look at, again, action in the sense of history. So for the last 40 years around the world, green energy has been a very popular cause. Most people don't know this, but it was popular in America, and in particular it was popular in Europe. And what they said is if we give lots and lots and lots of money and special privileges to these forms, then at a certain point they'll get momentum and then they'll lead the world. What percentage of energy production in the world, and this includes progressive Europe, what percentage is from solar and wind? It's less than 0.5%, so if you round, it is 0%. It's really suspicious. Okay, so they're in favor of these, they're banning some technologies, and then the technologies they want to mandate are radically inferior. And then the third piece of the puzzle is that there are actually non-CO2 emitting sources of energy that are practical that the green movement opposes. One major source of cheap, plentiful, reliable energy that doesn't emit any CO2 is hydroelectric power. And yet the biggest opponents of hydroelectric power are members of the green movement. And the reasons they cite are, they say, you know, dams are bad because they have too much of an impact on nature. If you go to the Sierra Club website, on one page you'll see they're opposed to global warming and it's the catastrophe of the century. On the next page, they brag on their list of accomplishments, all the hydroelectric dams they've shut down. Nuclear emits no CO2. It also emits no air particulate matter. And yet Greenpeace is an enemy of it. Sierra Club, World Wildlife Fund, every major environmental organization, almost every major green organization is anti-nuclear. They say it's unsafe, but if you point out, well, if you look statistically, it's actually the safest form of energy ever devised, and it's no emissions. And there are fairly easy ways to deal with the waste, which is why we're not all, you know, a bunch of three-eyed people like you'd guess from watching The Simpsons. And yet, so what they keep saying is it's unnatural, or we're tampering with nature. The reason that they want to ban the most effective sources of energy, that they don't, and that they completely take their benefits for granted, and they want to ban the most effective non-CO2 emitting sources of energy, and they only want to support solar and wind, has nothing to do with solar and wind being any good at generating energy. It's because solar and wind they regard as having the least impact on nature. That is really the core of the green philosophy. If you look at the different things that we talk about under green, what they all amount to is we should have less of an impact on the world around us. And I think that is the completely wrong way to think about environment. We should care deeply about environment, but we should recognize that the way to have a good environment for human beings is we need to impact nature a lot. If you look at the overall trend, our environment has gotten vastly, vastly better to the extent that A, we've protected property rights, including pollution, and B, to the extent we've left people free to improve our environment. With what the green movement is saying is that that needs to stop, that needs to be slowed, and they don't just want that as an idea that we discuss in a discussion group, they want that to have the force of law. If you care about our environment, might not make you popular, but you should dissociate yourself from the green movement. You know, I hope you'll at least investigate the movement I'm in, the industrial progress movement, which is all about how to get a better environment by improving it, and energy and technology are our friends.